Good afternoon. Today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. It is 3:03 p.m. We're here for the regular trustee meeting. If you can join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we have an agenda before us. Are there any changes or
Yes, Board,
additions?
we do have one from legal.
Yes, I need to add onto the executive session under G2, 121.22 G2, to consider the sale or other disposition of property in accordance with section 50510 of the revised code. And I can do the whole thing when we actually go in.
Good. Anything else? If not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the March 24th, 2025 meeting as amended.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve the general ledger report?
I move to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $367,347.16 for the 3/5/2025 payroll.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the payments listing report in the amount of $425,325.81 for warrants through March 19th, 2025.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. And we have minutes from the March 10th, 2025 regular trustee meeting. Are there any additions or modifications? If not, we have a motion to accept or approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the March 10th, 2025 regular trustee meetings as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Sure. Abstain?
You can
actually
actually
vote.
I can
vote.
accept?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. Thank you. And at this time, we open the podium up to any citizens desiring to speak. Nothing? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that and we'll move on to, looks like we have no old business, we have no new business, we have no sheriff business, we have no HR business, but we have a lot of business in community development and risk. Does that sound accurate?
Thank you,
Sergeant
Board. I'll
Kessel,
turn
if I
over.
overstepped you, then you're welcome to come up to the podium and spend as much time as you'd like. Okay.
Thank you, Board. We do have an awareness item that we spoke on before, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Earhart. We have a new form that we want to announce. It's currently in the draft phase upon legal approval. A couple of minor modifications may be made, but good news is that we have the authorizing language in our zoning code to already do this, so we don't need any board action. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Earhart.
Good afternoon, Board. One of the things we've been looking at is trying to be able to track our tenants as they come and go from multi-tenant spaces. This really came to light with the Russ Research case and moving that into, trying to get that into a viable center again. We want, especially with Russ, because we, if you remember correctly, we approved a bunch of specific uses for that zoning district. But in all of our zoning districts, we would like to make sure that our tenants are in compliance with our zoning resolution. So therefore, we did some research and came up with, we have the enabling legislation in the code, and it's included here in your packet as well, and in the fee schedule as well, for a certificate of zoning compliance that was already listed. So in other words, all we really need to do is, as a department, enact a form and a way to track this. So I have the form, Dawn's finishing that for a legal review, and then we'll be able to start issuing those as the tenants come and go. My plan for kind of rolling this out is to email or contact anywhere that might have multiple tenants and let them know that this form is in place and how they'll go about filling it out as their tenants come and go. that if you have any questions.
Yeah, so a couple of comments I would make is one is so just language and nomenclature wise, we want to make sure that we define it as an occupant of the space, not just a tenant, because a tenant implies a renter. And it could be someone purchasing a building for a specific use that may or may not be permitted.
Okay,
And so I would just the guidance or recommendation I make is to refer to that wherever we can in code as an occupant, because it could be an owner occupied or a tenant that's
Right.
leasing the space. The second thing, just something to consider, is that in the event that it is a tenant that's renting the space, it's not a bad practice to have the property owner sign off on that as well. So that the property owner, it's an extra step. You can choose to do it or not do it. But it's one of those things.
would be nice to know that they're authorized to do so. So,
Well, it's one of those things where, what you don't want is to be the finger pointed at the town. I've done this before. I've pointed my finger at the municipality and said, you permitted it, or you denied it, but the landlord, I signed a lease and I can't get out of it now. So if the landlord says it is permitted, the tenant finds out it's not. So it kind of works both ways, so.
we'll look at that for some additional review. Thank you
But
for your
that's
comments.
really for more legal counsel, but that's the only comment I would make on that. Otherwise, the certificate of occupancy, this is essentially in place of that, is what you're calling it.
Correct, and the reason for us calling it that is, in our code under 1904, it specifically states a certificate of zoning compliance
Yeah.
shall be issued before the occupancy.
Yep, okay.
I think you did a nice job on it, though, in putting it all together, and I think it's gonna solve some problems and keep things more transparent for the people that take on these buildings and we're not sure of some of the rules that we have, so I think it
And I
brings
think
it
it'll
up.
become more useful as we get more spaces like this, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with Valley Springs Farm potentially coming online with some multi-tenant spaces. This will just ensure compliance before we have an issue 6, 8 months down the road where we
Right.
don't know a tenant moves in and they're not in compliance.
Right, so, thank you so much for, taking this on.
Thank you, board.
The only other recommendation you might consider is, I believe I filled one of these out when I built the storage facility.
Okay.
Or that we had to get one of these. And so that was under Miss Long at the time. And so there's obviously been a gap in when we've collected or enforced this. It might be something that is offered to where you go back to a business that is already existing, and just from a cleanup standpoint,
Absolutely.
it gives you a chance to knock on a door, meet somebody and say, hey, we don't have one of these on file for you. We're willing to waive the fee if you go through the application process. And it's just a recommendation. If I were a business owner, I wouldn't have a problem doing
That
that.
saves me a step later on down the line because I was probably, after we implement this, I was going to come back and ask
Yeah.
the board if they would be willing to waive the fee for existing
And
uses.
that would actually then give you an opportunity to go actually kind of lay eyes on things.
Sure.
Meet people. but
And as we
also
do, you know, our business meets and that sort of thing, we can catch up with that.
Just throwing that out there.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have no other questions.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Move along to public service. First item is Station 61 and Station 64. And yes, even fire stations have fire alarms. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Schroeder.
Good afternoon, Board. This just ties into the RFP we put out about a month ago, finishes it up. We only received one bid from Saturn Electric, the other two declined to bid. So we've had Saturn Electric in the past, they've done Station 63 just a few years back, and they've done other work for us in the township. So just a couple notes. One is Station 64, compared to when we did Station 63, it was only $3,000 more for this current bid, so not for the time, a little bit of cost increase. Station 61 is much different, just because we have more work in the base to be done as far as the heat detectors are out there. So that's why that bid's a little bit higher. So this is a prevailing wage job, and they've already factored in the prevailing wage schedule for that, so that's the cost that you see there for Saturn Electric. Is there any questions I can answer for you?
Questions? I have none.
There's a sample motion on page 18 and on the screen in front of you.
Hearing no other requests or questions, I'll move to approve purchase request 25 PSD 0182 to Saturn Electric, Inc. for Station 61 and 64 fire alarm replacement in the amount of $81,038, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Second item I have for you is a resolution for surplus equipment. The new trailer came in, which there are pictures, a couple pictures in the back of the packet for that. So with that being in now, we can go ahead and surplus the old one and put it on Gov Deals to sell. Is there any questions I can answer for you there?
Nope.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 20250324-PSD-B, a resolution finding certain township equipment to be surplus and to dispose of it as presented.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
I had one thing,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Schroeder. I just want to thank you and your team for the excellent job you did on landscaping around the buildings that I've seen, and the pulling of the weeds, cutting the weeds, and also fixing the light that was out for the, around the building so that people can see when they're leaving on our free building. They use this space, and it'll be safer for them to leave here, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much for noticing, and so I'll check on that light. We just got it finished up today, so I'll check on that tomorrow morning on my way in and verify that it's
But
up and
please
running.
tell your staff that they did a great job. I noticed it right away, and it looked really good around our buildings, so thank you.
I will be sure to let them know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Now move on to Fire Department. I'll turn it over to Chief Vandenboss with a few items.
Good afternoon. Get to start off with another good recognition of excellence today. In this case, I was notified through Captain Brewer, who received notification from Lieutenant Richardson of a call they had earlier this month. They got called out on a possible delivery, and in their words, upon arriving at the house, they found a very anxious new father at the door, and followed him in and found mother and baby doing very well in the bathroom. So that's pretty unusual to begin with, so those are usually high-stress calls, as you can probably imagine. But in the process of taking care of mother and child, they were able to also facilitate the father cutting the umbilical cord, which is obviously one of those rare moments that the father gets to participate in the process, so a little bit of a bonding moment there. And then successfully transported both mother and child to Berry Center, and they were doing well upon transfer of care there. So wanted to recognize firefighters Schreier, Kavanaugh, Hudson, and Lieutenant Richardson for the excellent work that they did and the care and compassion they had for the family in a very stressful situation. So they did a great job representing the township and the department, so we appreciate that.
I told my sons when they were growing up a little bit, I said, the moment I cut that umbilical cord, I knew that there were no returns, so you better behave.
Yep. So,
Just thought you-
any other questions or comments on that? The next item we have is a motion to accept a resignation. If can read it as presented, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
There's a sample motion on page 30 and on your screen in front of you.
Who's dialed in?
HR manager
Okay.
and our
Great.
finance director.
Thank you.
So,
Lurking in the shadows.
I make
Okay.
a motion to accept the resignation of firefighter Kendra Havnar, effective March 23rd, 2025. Kendra Havnar is not eligible for reemployment with Beavercreek Township.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. And for the last item the fire department has today, I'm actually going to turn it over to Chief Easter because he understands this way better than I do. So you can ask him any question you like.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good afternoon.
The request is to actually finish off a replacement of mobile and portable radios within our fleet. So in July 2019, the state added to their requirements link layer authentication for all subscriber units. And that was following a security breach that happened in the statewide radio system where radios were being cloned and then used for nefarious purposes. And so the remedy to that was to better secure the network, and the radio authentication piece does that. Since 2019, we have worked on a plan to add that feature to radios that would take it, as well as replace radios that wouldn't, and this is the last portion of that. It was budgeted for this year. The radios that we're replacing are all holdovers from our previous radio system, the Greene County Harris system. So these have been radios that generally are not used very often. So we'll be replacing those and putting the new radios into frontline service and stepping down some of our current equipment that was purchased in 2012. So this is the last portion of that to move forward. The additional benefit is the timing. We were offered an additional percentage off of the state term pricing through the fire marshal's purchase. The fire marshal had a relatively large purchase in 2025 for the same need, and so they extended that purchase opportunity to everybody in the state of Ohio. If we take advantage of that, it moves the discount off of MSRP from 25% on the state term schedule to 40% off the MSRP. So that pricing expires the end of this month. So happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Yeah, good job on getting that pricing. Appreciate it.
Any questions? Concerns?
I had none.
I'm done.
All right.
I'll move to approve purchase request 25-fire-0532 to Motorola Solutions for replacement radios and accessories in the amount of $299,227.61, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Board. That's all the department reports.
Okay. Ms. Frick,
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Zahariev.
Just a awareness item, we did receive our first half of property tax settlement, so I will be moving some funds from operating to our investment account to make sure we're fully funded.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. MVRPC.
Next meeting is on first Thursday of April the 3rd, so I will be attending that, and I'll have a report for the meeting following that.
Great. Okay. TAC.
Had our meeting last week, changes to the transportation plan and a presentation from Martin Kim that was less than a half an hour long.
Okay. Opioid Task Force.
Meeting was for tomorrow, but it was canceled.
Okay. Greene County Regional Planning, the full commission meets tomorrow evening at 6:30. So there are a couple of issues that are Beavercreek Township related. Hillside Farms was one, and then another one was the property at 22 acres up on Dayton Xenia Road that adjoins the AES property, the Munoz property, and the Sally property. Otherwise, normal business for other townships, so nothing to report. The executive committee did recommend, essentially made a recommendation, essentially in favor of the rezoning request on the 22 acres. And on Hillside Farms, there was also a positive recommendation there, so. Health Department Advisory.
The District Advisory Council was on the 18th, and I attended that meeting. They did the state of the health department, and that was about it. And the next health department meeting is on the 3rd of April, first Thursday of the month, so I'll have a report for that next meeting.
Okay. Right, Pat, Air Force Restoration Advisory Board. I'm sorry, I skipped School Superintendent, City Manager.
No meeting.
Okay,
Next meeting's in May.
okay. Greene County Water Wastewater Committee.
Yes, Board, all customers of Greene County Sanitary should have received their updated pipelines new letter announcing that they finally have completed their water softening efforts. Just as a recap, they began water softening efforts at 29 grains per gallon of hardness, and they had a targeted goal of 8 grains per gallon, and they have received and are announcing that they achieved that goal. So they are recommending that for you to test how, if you are using a water softener, to test to see how the water is without the softener by putting in bypass mode. Obviously, your softener will always be able to polish that number and get it down to a lower number, but you may want to adjust that accordingly, because according to Greene County Sanitary, over softening water could damage plumbing and fixtures. And you do not want to expend more salt unless you have to. So put in bypass, see how you like it. If you want to polish it, keep it on, may reduce the input, so it's at 8 grains per the system, and see how that goes from there.
Is that the maximum that they're gonna go to, or is they
That's
gonna?
correct.
Okay,
There might be efforts in the future to go from there, but that is what they need to have a system that doesn't damage the cell, quite frankly, because you can go too far. That's not healthy. I don't know what that number is, but I've been told that.
Okay. Greene County Township Association.
Yes, Board, I attended that. On the 11th, I sent you the information. We had a great presentation from Denise Percival, the new Greene County Treasurer. A couple of things to note is that in conjunction with the Greene County Auditor's Office, they have launched a new interactive web portal. Two really big things that are beneficial about that web portal is that you can now make online payments, so skip the line. You can pay your property tax online and do that at your leisure and at your convenience. The second item is interesting is that they have been enabled more menus that you can drill down. So the menu may populate as a pie chart and show all political jurisdictions for delinquency, for matter. And then you can click down on the pie of Beavercreek Township, and they'll show all delinquent properties of that, and you can sort based off of top tier amount on down. So that's a new feature, and it was highlighted, and it'd be in your email of the report from that meeting.
thank you.
Investment oversight. Nothing to report, yeah, okay. And 911 Advisory Committee, anything new from yours? We're a ways off yet, so, okay. Is there anything else to come before us today? If not, entertain a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G1, to consider the appointment and employment of a public official or employee, and under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G2, to consider the sale of property. Ms. Frick, you want to finish that?
Yeah, in accordance with section 505.10 of the revised code, if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest.
So moved,
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Board's now 4:04 PM. We just need a motion to exit executive session and reconvene the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.